I definitely think this even started earlier on in the month, and I think a lot of it has to do with a couple factors. Hustle fatigue. Don't that's not necessarily like an actual term, but we're gonna make it an actual term because it does happen after people push really, really, really hard for certain goals. You tend to almost kind of have this cool off period where your body does, it needs to recoup, your brain needs to recoup. It kind of feels like mush. But that's something that shouldn't be lasting all month, shouldn't be lasting for weeks. It maybe a couple days. If it's lasting longer than that, then at some point it crosses over from fatigue to comfort. And then when you grow comfortable with whatever rewards you have reaped from that hustle weeks prior, you are now cultivating an environment that will not pay you weeks later. So remembering that whatever you are doing over the this whole month, right? Whatever you are doing in February is basically how you are paid 30, 60, 90 days from now. Okay. So bearing that in mind, whether you are feeling that exhaustion, whether you're feeling lost, whether you're feeling like you can't gain any traction, if your initial instinct is to kind of pull away, rest, sink into comfort and complacency, then your March and your April is going to be the same, if not worse. So, taking what you don't like about this month, taking what you don't like about whatever, if January wasn't your month, January wasn't everyone's month. It was a month for a lot of people, but maybe it wasn't yours. So when we're talking about goals and planning and goal setting, I really want you to start thinking about how are you going to make goals based on the feedback you have been getting from, like we always talk about, failure isn't failure, failure is feedback. So if you feel like you are not where you want to be, if you are not recruiting the people you want, if you're not recruiting people at all, if your PPA is crap, if your posts aren't getting a lot of traction, right? It can be a myriad of things. That is all feedback. You first need to look back and think, what was I doing? What was I not doing? What have I done in my really successful months that I'm not doing currently? What patterns of thought and behavior am I in right now? Okay, so you need to, in order to set goals for the future, you need to first reflect on what you have gone through, what you have just, I don't want to say like endured, but for the most part, you need to look back. You need to look back and say, okay, what worked and what didn't? Okay, what am I not doing now that I was doing during these other successful months? Or what am I not doing that these people who are being successful, who are selling minis, who are, getting a killer PP, what are they doing? And not in a comparative way, not in a way that you're looking at them like, oh, wow, I wish I could do what they, not like that, but look to them to say, hey, maybe I could try doing some of those things too. Maybe I can, give that a shot. I see that they're going live a lot, maybe, and I'm not, maybe I can do that, or whatever the case might be. So not in a comparison way, look to other people who are more successful than you, but in a way that says, what are they doing? I should probably give that a shot. Okay. And so I want you, before we make goals, to look at this past month, these past few weeks, and reflect. Okay. Almost like a little journal entry. Reflect on the things that you were doing that were successful. Those 3 questions us leaders are always supposed to be asking ourselves and our team, right? What am I doing that's working that you want me to keep doing? What am I doing that's not working that you want me to stop doing? And what's something I'm not doing that I need to do more of, or I should start doing? Okay. So asking yourself those questions in regards to what you have been doing, what you haven't been doing in relation to where you want to be. Okay. You need to gauge, where are you now? Where do you want to be? Whatever your end goals are, where do you want to be? Okay. If you're like feeling really, really, really far off, all this means is that you have so much data and feedback that you have not been evaluating. Okay. So I'm going to use like a word picture here, for example. So you're following a map, right? Or you're a sailor. Okay. You're a sailor on the ocean and you're using a map and your compass and all of that. If you are not regularly checking yourself and checking back to see what you did wrong and correcting when you get off course, correcting, if the less frequently you do that, the more off course you get and the farther from your destination you become. Okay. When you are not checking your course regularly. Okay. And I will always bring this back to the military stuff. When they are doing their land nav course, they have these counting beads. It's like a string that has like 10 to 20 beads on them. Every step or every meter, they click the beads down. When they get to the end of the string, what do? They have to correct, because you have a strong foot that always pulls you off course, and you will, if you don't check every once in a while, you end up way over here when you should be over here. Okay. And that has to do, yeah, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Yeah, because that has to do with not checking your feedback regularly. If you feel really off course, it's because you are not reflecting. You are not stopping and reflecting. You are not checking to see if you are still on course. You are not checking to see, oh, I turned a little bit too much this way. Oh, I overcorrected a little bit over. Hey, wait and wait and wait. You're going to be so far off course that looking at your destination is going to feel really discouraging, because you're going to feel even farther away, and you exhausted all the energy to get farther away instead of closer. Right? I know a lot of people can feel that right now. A lot of people can feel like, I'm putting all this energy forth, I'm still expending all this energy, I'm still doing all these things, but I'm somehow farther away, or I'm just not any closer and I don't get it. And a lot of it just has to do with the fact that you are not reflecting enough on what is working and what is not working. And you're not making corrections as those come in. As that feedback comes in, you're not correcting. Okay. And that can be because you have a fear of failure. People who have a fear of failure don't want to check themselves enough because they innately fear that they are failing. And they don't want that feedback to validate that feeling of failure. It's a lot of F's, but I'm just saying that's essentially what it is. Okay. They're afraid to fail, so they don't want to look at what's not happening, because it only gives them that feeling of, it's validating that they're not doing what they should be doing. And they're like, I'm going to feel like a failure, so I don't want to look at it. Right. I know a lot of us have been there in our broke days, when you know that you're really broke and you purposely don't want to look at your bank account because you know you're broke, right? And you do things knowing that it's going to make it worse, but you're like, I'm too scared to look. I'm too scared to actually just look at it, right? Even though you're like, I know I only got 14 cents in the bank, but I don't want to look at it. I don't even want to open it. It's that fear, right? And so doing that with your goals, if you're not where you want to be with your goals, it's kind of like doing the same thing. Your success bank is depleted to like 14 cents and you don't want to look at it. You just like pretend it doesn't exist. But when you do that, you can't look at your spending. You can't look at where your money is going. You can't look at where your money, right? Your energy, your impact, your time, all these things. You can't look at that. So it's almost like looking at your ledger of effort, time, and energy. It's kind of like deposits and withdrawals in a bank account. If you're so scared by the end result of what you see in your bank account, your withdrawals, doing all these things that I probably shouldn't have, right? And I almost feel like I didn't want to look at that. I didn't want to look at it because it was just like, oh shit, Courtney, you could have had 30 or 40 extra bucks in your bank account if you weren't a dipshit and didn't go to Dunkin' Donuts and didn't do this and didn't go do that and didn't do this and this and this and this. Like, you know what I mean? No one wants to look at it and be like, And so that's why a lot of us are fearful of looking back over the last couple weeks and saying, what were we doing and not doing? Were we going live as much? No. Were we doing interviews as much? No. Were we replicating and duplicating what we were doing on Zooms? Probably not. When we didn't get on Zooms, were we going back to the YouTube channel and watching them? No, I can tell by the views that that's not the case. You know, are we just doing all the things that we were when we had really successful months? No, we weren't. We weren't. And I think sometimes we look at that and we want to be like, you're seeing all these withdrawals of time, more time on Netflix, more time complaining, more time on mindless scrolling on Instagram, more time on TikTok, more time doing this. And you see all these time withdrawals and your bank account is like almost negative, and you're like, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a budget, a time budget and an energy budget for the next couple weeks, okay? And that's what goal planning is like. So if you don't understand the purpose of goal planning or the value of goal planning, I kind of want you to keep in mind that word picture. You're not going to get better at spending and saving more money and having more money in your bank account if you don't get really good at creating a budget and following a budget. And you're not going to get really good at creating one of those unless you look at the previous months where you were a really crappy spender and saver. Okay. So it does require going back and looking at all the things you suck at or didn't do or did too much of, so you don't do them again. Okay. So obviously I can't be on here being like, oh yeah, you didn't do this and you should, I don't know. I don't know those things. So that first part is all on you. So put on a piece of paper, put on a notebook, put text and upline if you need that accountability, and just talk about what you didn't do, what you did too much of, you know, all those things, right? Answering those 3 questions. Now what I want you to do is I want you to, all those things that you wrote down, I want you to counter them with things you can do. Okay. And if you found, well, I didn't go live as much. Well, why? Why didn't you go live as much? Right. So always asking yourself, why? Why didn't I do more interviews? Why didn't I do those things? And I'm talking like logically and tactically. I'm talking like, for real, why didn't you? Did you not have as much time? Did you not feel as confident? Were you just in a rut? Okay. All these things. Why is that important? Well, because you need to know why you didn't do them to know how to overcome them. So if you're like, I didn't go live as much because I was just feeling like crap. I was feeling really depressed. I was feeling really anxious. I was feeling really down on myself. Then you know those answers. Now you know what to do. Working on your confidence, maybe doing more self-development, maybe taking more time for yourself, pouring into your own bucket so that you feel more confident to be able to go do those things. Okay. So identifying what you were and were not doing, asking yourself why wasn't I doing those things? Okay. I know for me, the answer just a lot of the time is just a lack of self-discipline when it comes to my schedule, right? The day can get away from me and I have to own that. Why didn't you do lives? Well, because I just didn't manage my time very good, right? So sometimes you have to be your own worst critic and be like, yeah, I was really crappy at managing my time. You know, I had lots of family in town, then I traveled and I did that. Now I'm like, oh, March 0 traveling. Okay. Time management.
I have a question, Courtney. Can I ask? So I feel like I've done self-development and leadership, and I have self-concept in different areas, right? But right now, when you're saying about the confidence, I'm like, okay, what's the confidence that I'm lacking? It's the type of confidence of like sharing my personal things, and being able to properly express it. I think that's where my area to work in is. What is the recommendation if you have like for sharing? But you know, because I do feel like I have confidence in other areas, but not for sharing too many things.
Okay. I think for anything, how you get better at doing something is just doing it messy at first, and then you might not like the first few posts that you put up. You might not love the first few things that you share. You might go, I don't really like that. But that's all feedback. You never know how to improve unless you first just do something. Yeah, exactly, Jocelyn. Trial and error. Put up a post, share. If you don't like the way that it sounds, or if it didn't get a lot of interaction, or you're like, it just kind of came off wrong, go back again. It's all feedback. It's not a bad post. Just look at it like feedback. What worked, what didn't work, what really sounded like you, what didn't sound like you. I know when I make my posts that are just in the beginning that I didn't really like, they just didn't sound like me. I tried to sound like, not, I don't want to be like, oh, way too smart, but I tried to sound like I knew what I was talking about. I tried to sound a certain way. And you know what you end up doing is you end up sounding inauthentic. You don't sound like your real voice. People are like, who the heck is this? This is super unrelatable. And so I had to make those posts first in order to realize I shouldn't make those posts. In order to realize, hey, people don't want perfection. They want something relatable. So if your posts don't sound amazing, if they're not worded properly, if they don't have the best grammar or whatever, that's okay. It's relatable and you just fix them over time, right? So do things that really truly sound like you. And start by leaning into the things that do give you confidence. Whatever you are confident in, maybe start sharing about those kinds of things. And then as you gain more confidence in sharing, you'll feel more like you can share either more vulnerable things, you'll feel more comfortable about sharing your journey, you'll feel more comfortable about doing that. So that's kind of called behavioral momentum, is when you take things you are confident or competent about and you do those, and it kind of, you do it more and more and it builds like a snowball. And the more you do it, the more confidence and competence you gain, and you'll be more likely to do those things later on that were more uncomfortable.
Thank you. I think I'm working slowly towards it. Like one of the things I've always liked is martial arts, right? And I've never ever in my life like post about it. And yesterday, randomly with my daughter, I was practicing, and I said, even though my house is not super clean, that's fine because that's, you know, relatable. And I went ahead and posted something. So I think I'm going okay with what you're saying and working little by little.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Yep, for sure. Okay, so now that we've talked about looking back, right? Taking that feedback from the previous weeks where you just are like, this is just not where I want to be, right? You've already first identified this is not where I want to be. I'm not doing what I know I want to be doing or should be doing, or even if you're doing the same things you always do, but you're not getting the results you want, things need to change. Something needs to change, okay? Whatever it is. So if you're not getting the results you want, look back, think, what are you doing? What aren't you doing? Sometimes we feel like we're doing the majority of the same thing. And sometimes maybe that's the issue. Maybe you're doing too much of the same thing all the time, every single day, you know, whatever. Maybe it's time to switch it up, right? Everything is feedback. Look at it. What were you doing? What weren't you doing? What should you be doing more of? What should you be doing less of? What should you start doing that you haven't been doing previously? Ask yourself why. Why weren't you doing those things? Okay, was it time management? Was it confidence? Was it lack of knowledge? Was it lack of resources? Was it lack of communication? Whatever. Okay. Then you will begin to identify those things. You first you treat the whys. Okay. So a lot of people, they do in their goal planning is they're like, I didn't do lives. And then their goal is, I will do lives. Right? That's great. But if you don't figure out the why you didn't do the lives, then that why may still persist when you make the new goals. Right? If time management is your issue, it's not doing lives that's your issue. It's whatever stopped you from doing them. Confidence, time management, blah, 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 right? We already talked about that. So if you don't first identify the whys, why didn't you? Or what got in the way, right? The obstacles, and you don't fix them or make a plan to address those, then nothing else is going to change. So you first need to figure out what were your obstacles from doing the things you wanted to do. Then when you are making your goals, you don't make your goal necessarily to do more lives, to post more, to do whatever. That's a byproduct. Your goal or goals is to actually address and fix the whys and the why nots. So it will be, what are you going to do to get better at time management? What are you going to do to gain more confidence with X, Y, and Z? What are you going to do? Blah, 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 blah. Right? So if time management is your issue, maybe you need to make a goal and write out your schedule of when do you need to wake up? When are you most productive? Are you most productive in the morning or in the evening? You need to get done your most important IPAs during that time. Are you going to do more self-development? When are you going to read your books? What Zooms, right? What Zooms are you going to get on? Like, you should always have a thing of like 3 to 5 Zooms that are just like no miss. Never miss them. Right? The ones are like, these are most important. I can be flexible with the other ones, but like these 3 are like, I got to get on these ones. For me, it is leadership and the mindset one. Well, obviously the ones I have to lead, but I can't miss those ones. Miss none of them. Well, definitely don't miss as many as you can, but that's why we have the YouTube channel. But I better see the views go up. So, because a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, I'll just catch them later. And then the views stay the same for weeks. So I know people are watching them. But that's what you guys need to be doing to make your goals is when you are planning, sorry, I'm admitting people, when you are planning, you need to be planning about how to overcome those. Overcome, what's the name of, it's the Thrive Army training. We have it shared in one of the chats. We'll share the link with you. So that's what I really want you guys to focus on, okay? Is not just, I need to do more lives, boom. I need to post more, boom. Those are all great goals. I want you to write those down. Those are awesome. But also prioritizing and working in how are you going to overcome the obstacles? And you have to do that by first identifying what your obstacles were, what you were doing, what you weren't doing, why weren't you doing them? That is what you make your goals on, okay? It's not posting, it's not going live, it's not getting on Zooms. There's reasons why you don't do those things. There are reasons. What are those reasons? That is what you make your goals on, okay? And when you start making your goals based on that primarily and building your foundation on that, you will find you will start going live more. You will start posting more. You will start getting on more Zooms. You will start engaging more in the chat or whatever it is, right? Whatever is kind of holding you back. Okay. And so when you're thinking of planning your March, okay, you need to think about those things. And I know that Dakota goes into a lot of the goal planning and goal setting and things like that, but I want you guys to kind of have these things in mind when you are making your goals. It is more important for you to figure out why you are not doing certain things or why you are doing certain things. You are avoiding certain things. You are feeling this kind of way. You are doing this, okay? Whatever it is, are or not. Figuring out why. And then that is how you set goals. So it reminds me of, you guys remember in like middle school and high school, you had to make outlines, right? Roman numeral, like 1 was like the main topic. And then like you indented a little bit, it's like lowercase a, and it's like a little mini topic within that bigger topic. And then it's like 1, 2, 3, and you had like little teeny tiny things, right? That's kind of like how you need to make goals. Okay. Is your bigger one is, not lacking confidence or poor time management. Underneath that, you need to write, 1, 2, 3, 4 goals, right? So making sure to get on at least 3 Zooms a week, making time to post at least once a day, all these things, and then figuring out all those little behaviors that get in the way. Is it kids? Is it dinner? Is it time getting away from you? Is it not knowing things? Is it alerts? We have so many resources to help you guys do this, okay? Does anyone have questions as far as goals, goal setting? I'll have to figure out where it is, but we do have a SMART goals sheet. Literally breaks down how to set goals. I know it is sent out in our welcome link. I also know it is other places, but I gotta figure out. If you would like that, I can find it and put it in the Thrive Army chat. If you are not in the Thrive Army chat, one, what is you doing? Get in there. And number two, your upline can hopefully send it to you. But that can help people. If you are a visual person, the SMART goals sheet may help you because it literally gives you an outline of like how to break things down. It gives an explanation of all those things. But I think that in all honesty, I think we all just kind of took a little bit of a back seat in a lot of areas in our promoting journey, in our leadership journey this month, for whatever reason. We all have our own reasons. And what I don't want to see is I don't want people to feel like, holy crap, February sucked so bad that they're starting off March already in that mindset. Does that make sense? Because that's only going to persist and make you feel like you're starting behind the 8 ball. So I really encourage people to start doing these goals now, and even making those goals for like don't wait and don't make them for March. Make them like now. Right? Like start your first like change should be like as of today or tomorrow. But I really, really, really do think that only if we are intentional will March become what it truly can and always is. March almost always, and February is usually always huge. February, March, April, May are like big, but only as big as you allow it to be based on what you are open and receiving for because of the ground you laid previously. Okay. So I hope I don't want to keep everyone on too long. I know I'm approaching the half-hour mark, so want to honor that. But if you guys need that goal sheet, I will send it in Thrive Army. We will try to make sure that at least everyone has access to it. We're not going to be private messaging it to everybody, but we will put it in the, the group chats as a whole, so you can snag it if you need it. And also just being really, really, really honest with yourselves. I know I had to have a moment where I was doing that. I know sometimes we all want to believe we're doing the most. We all want to believe we're doing everything we possibly can. And maybe your time, maybe the time you're putting in is telling you that you couldn't possibly do more. You couldn't possibly give more time. But sometimes maybe time isn't the issue. It's just your energy. It's where you're allocating your presence. It's where you are putting your effort. Maybe that's not the wisest place to be putting your effort right now. So definitely being truly, truly, truly honest with yourself as to why, holding yourself accountable, and then knowing what you can do more and how to improve for next month. And then the months after, because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that April is going to come and people are going to have a major oh shit moment when they realize it is the last month to go for rank advancement. And just to remind people, because I know you guys have been pretty spoiled with like all these amazing promos that have come out, but the last time this rank advancement promo came out was the month that I signed up as a promoter 4 years ago. So I don't want people to think that this is going to be like a regular thing, because it is not. So if you're wanting this and you're truly running for it, we need to approach it so differently with this major fervor and like aggression. And I mean aggression towards the goals. I don't mean like don't be aggressive towards people and stuff, but like you need to run for this aggressively. And that means like no breaks. Okay. Like you can take like little breaks. Okay. Like I want you to think of it like a marathon. You can't just sit down and take a nap because you're tired. Okay, that's what this is right now. You can like slow down and be like, okay, I can't sprint the whole thing. I'm going to use this, get my energy back up, then I'm going to go again. But I see so many people like pulling off to the side and like taking full on naps because they're like, I'm tired. Like, well, no, duh, everyone's tired. It's a marathon. You're supposed to be tired or you're not doing it right. Okay. But this is huge for everybody. I mean, this is like life-changing stuff. This also sets you up for creating teams that are very sizable, that are duplicatable, and that are creating residual income so that even when the bonus is gone, you are still generating that kind of income, if not greater. Okay, that's the whole point of bonuses, is that it's rewarding you for building large teams that are fully functioning and autonomous, so that even after the bonus is over, you're still sustaining that, you're still bringing in that kind of revenue and that kind of income. And so that's kind of our goal over the next few months. But we definitely have to get, I don't want to sound like Paul, we have to get laser focused. We do. We have to get laser focused. He's right in that. We have to get laser focused and hunker down and really truly figure out what it is that you want, and then break the goals down backwards. Okay. You're like, I want 40K, I want 80K, I want 12K, I want whatever. Also, what does that mean for you? What does 12K mean for you? 12K for some people means having a car because they don't have one right now. Okay. Or they won't be having one. So like, 12K is great, but your mind doesn't register 12K. Your mind will register though, well, you better go get your car or else you're gonna not have one, right? And sometimes that's way more motivating. You need to step up differently. You need to do things differently, right? Like if I said, hey, if you sell 6 packages, I'll pay your mortgage. I guarantee everyone on this call would go sell 6 packages like right effing now, okay? It's all about the why. It's all about what is pushing you. It's all about what is driving you. If you're not running like you want to be running, whatever's over here that you're using as your carrot sucks. It's not driving you. It isn't pushing you. Okay. You need to find something bigger to you. Okay. Whatever that is. It doesn't need to be a dollar amount. It just needs to be something that really hits home for you, that if you don't do this, there's consequences. Okay. Don't just chase rewards, avoid punishment, avoid pain. Okay. That is, the avoidance of pain is actually much more highly reinforcing than gaining pleasure. A little psychology fact for you. So it's, oh, I'm going to do this because if I don't, I will get evicted. That's, you're going to be running to avoid that pain, to avoid the pain of getting evicted. But if you're like, yeah, I'm running because I just want to put an extra 10 grand in the bank, that may not be motivating for you, because you're like, if I don't have an extra 10 grand in the bank, that's fine. I've lived thus far without an extra 10 grand in the bank, so whatever. Okay. Find what pushes you, find what motivates you, give yourself an or else. If you don't meet your goal, if you don't do what you need to do, this sounds like really sadist, like, but punish yourself in a sense. And what I mean is you sustain from rewarding yourself anyway. So don't watch your show on Netflix. Don't sit down on the couch at 7 o'clock and watch your show if you have not done what you need to do up until that point. Okay, that's what I mean. You're like, I'm indulging in these things anyway, knowing I haven't done what I should have been doing today. No, you only do those things if you do those things that you needed to get done. If you want to sit down and start your Netflix, but you haven't done your 5-5-5 yet, then guess what? You hammer out your 5-5-5 for 15 minutes before you start your Netflix show. Easy peasy. Okay. But that's what we do, is a lot of times we get comfortable because we're like, tomorrow, next week, after my show, after this, right? And it doesn't work that way. So in a sense, like I said, without sounding like a weirdo, punishing yourself when you don't meet those goals and making sure that those things that you can hammer out really quick, you get them done before you indulge. Okay. If not, then if you're a parent, you're a hypocrite because that's just like giving your kids all these snacks before they eat their meals. Okay. Oh, sure, you can have dessert. You didn't eat dinner. It's totally fine. Oh yeah, you just said screw your carrots. That's totally fine. Here's a cookie. That's what we do to ourselves as adults, right? Oh, you needed to do that. That's okay. You can binge watch Bridgerton. Okay. Oh, you didn't do those things. That's okay. You can still go out to eat with the girls. No, you get done what you need to get done first. Then you go do what you want to do. And that is not only effective goal planning and goal setting, but how you actually check off goals is the discipline to carry them out, the discipline and accountability to yourself. And if you need an accountability partner, that's perfectly fine. but the discipline to carry them out and to see them through and to hold yourself accountable to them, because it doesn't matter that you do them on great days. That's good. That's awesome. But that's not your problem. The problem is you're not doing them on bad days. The problem is you're not doing any of those things when life is hard, when time is limited, when you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, when your spouse isn't helping around the house, when your kids are monsters, right? So that is when you are compromising on your goals. So if that is the why or the why not, then you need to combat that. And sorry, I'm looking at the chat. And a lot of those things are what hold us back. Okay. I use this analogy a lot in the last month. It's like an alcoholic or a drug addict. And I worked a lot as a substance abuse counselor. So that's where I tend to default to. But that's great that you're not drinking alcohol for breakfast. That's great that you're not drinking alcohol for lunch and when you're doing this and when you're doing that. It's great that you avoided it on good days. That's awesome. But that's not when you suffer. When you suffer and when you falter is when you need it because you're having a shitty day, because someone said something to you didn't like, because you're not feeling the way that you want to, because you're having, a bad day. When you go through the crappy times, that's when you don't do what you need to do. That's when being sober is put to the test. That's when saying no to a drink or saying no to a drug or no to the things you want to do is harder. But that is what makes you sober, is when you say no during those times, is when you avoid it during those crappy times. The times where you normally want to default and say, yeah, just right now, because it's really tough. That is why you're not reaching your goals, is because when things get really tough, you're like, maybe tomorrow when it's easier. I don't know if anyone has been living in the world I've been living in, but newsflash, it never gets easier. Okay? It never gets easier. So you just have to get tougher. You just have to get more disciplined. You just have to have a bigger, stronger vision, because it is never going to get easier. Tomorrow you will not wake up and life will be better. Okay? If it does, something else will get all effed up. Okay? You're like, oh, once I'm just over this fight with my spouse, guess what? You wake up tomorrow, fight with spouse over. Guess what? Kids, assholes. Okay? So, oh, everything else is better, blah, 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 blah. Oh, bank account negative. Oh, okay. Well, money in the bank, no fight with spouse, kids are freaking great. Oh, power's out. Okay? It's always something. So you just need to understand that you are in full control of what you do despite all of these other things. And that is why your goals need to be stronger and bigger than all these other things. And you need to be dedicated to doing them no matter what is happening. Okay? And if you do have a bad day or something happens, right? You obviously can't do certain things if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in the emergency room. There are different, right? Big deal, little deal. We've talked about these things, okay? But I'm talking in general. A lot of people just don't do the things they need to do because they're like, I just don't feel it today. Well, I'm sorry, you just don't feel like it. But I mean, you're going to have a lot of those I don't feel like it days. And then later, they all add up to a whole lot of nothing. And then you're really going to have some feelings about that. So it's really just about the discipline and having smart goals. Don't make goals that are way up here if you know right now life is just a lot. Okay? Make them more realistic for where you are right now, the time you have to dedicate, the energy you have to dedicate. Make them more attainable, right? These are all SMART goals. And you'll be more likely to check them off and achieve them, feel better, make bigger goals. And it's like baby steps. but you need the discipline to be able to do it. You need to stop compromising. You need to stop rewarding yourself for doing nothing. You need to stop rewarding yourself for mediocrity. Ooh, sorry guys, that was like really like, but it's true. I'm the same way. I'm like, when I'm talking to you, I'm also talking to myself. Okay. We need to stop rewarding ourselves for complacency and mediocrity. And I don't mean like where you are is not where you want to be. If what you are doing right now is literally all you can give, then that's not mediocre because you're giving 100%. Okay. So I just want you to remember that part. But when you know you can do more, but you're just choosing not to, but we all know when we are doing that. That's what I'm talking about. Looking back, being like, oh, wow, I was a lazy piece of shit today. Oh, well, I'm just going to keep watching Netflix. I'll try again tomorrow.
Is my speaker working?
Yep.
Okay. Just to point out that when she talks about, doing things that are mediocre or whatever, she's not talking about like the Thrive Army leaders version of mediocre, your own definition of mediocre, your own goals, not what we have set for you. This is not, we don't know what you're doing behind closed doors unless you're telling us. So this isn't just our volume sucks, so clearly nobody's doing anything. You might be doing everything under the sun. We don't know that. So when she's talking to you, she's talking in general, and she's talking about what we can see and what we do know, not, you're clearly not doing enough because the numbers aren't there. You know what I mean? So I don't want anybody to think that this is Courtney or anybody saying that we have like our own certain set of expectations or whatever, which we do. But I don't want you to, I feel like I'm losing myself now. Like I know what I wanted to say. Am I making any sense at all?
No, yeah, no, you are. My thing is mediocrity. Yeah, it was just whatever you set for yourself, whatever you set for your goal. If you know that you are not meeting that and you are constantly falling below that, stop rewarding yourself, because that's mediocrity. That's complacency, is when you know what you should be doing and you know that you're not. And that's by your own definition. Don't measure success by what Tracy does daily or what Alicia does daily or Courtney or Heather or Sue Ellen or whoever does daily. We all do what we need to do. We all have set our own standards and what we expect from ourselves. So that's why it's important to set goals. It's important to set your own goals, because when you know you are falling short on them, and when you know you're not doing everything you have told yourself you should be doing, then that's when you know that you are settling, you are becoming complacent, and you are settling into that mediocrity. But people are rewarding themselves anyway. They're doing these things that reward themselves. They're doing, right, they're watching the Netflix, they're indulging in this, they're doing that, right? And so it's like, don't do those things until you do what you've set for a goal, and then reward yourself. When you do that, you will find that you are more productive, you are checking off more goals, you are not settling. And so I definitely think, yeah, what Tracy says, and being brutally honest with yourself. I am too. I know that this has not been my best month. I have not been doing everything I know I need to be doing. My volume reflects exactly the effort I have put in, and I have zero people to blame for it, right? So I just think that everybody, you need to have an honest conversation with yourself. No one's looking at your paper. No one knows what you're writing down. No one knows what you're confessing to, essentially. You know what I mean? But in order for you to really make proper goals, you really, truly, when you're looking back, need to be honest with yourself. And I'm not saying like, I don't want to say don't give yourself grace. Definitely give yourself grace. But what I'm thinking about is don't justify it. Give yourself grace, but don't justify it. Right? You can say, yes, this is what I wasn't doing, and I know why I wasn't doing it, but here's what I'm going to do to change it this month. Okay? If you're like, I didn't do what I needed to do all last month because I was really struggling with my depression, I'm not saying don't give yourself grace. Please do. But don't justify it to the point where you allow that to continue being something that stops you. You can say, I did struggle with it this last month, and it really did suck. And I hated watching myself do that and go through it. Here is how I'm going to do things a little bit differently. Here is how I'm not going to allow that to stop me. Here's what I'm going to do to combat that. Give yourself grace for what you went through, but don't give yourself permission to continue living in that. Yeah. Just like Jocelyn said, what I always say is don't unpack and live there. You can visit, but you do not start unpacking and living there. Okay. And that's what I mean, like when I say don't give yourself grace, but don't give yourself permission to continue living in that. Because when that happens, you will fall short on your goals every single time. Every single time, because the goals might be changing, but you are not. And so first, you need to change you. You need to change your thought process. You need to change your mindset. You need to change your habits in order for your goals to change and in order for the end result, the outcome to change. And that is exactly what this whole entire Zoom is about, rounding it up, is that you need to change and your mindset needs to change and your focus. Everything first is here and here, and then your goals will follow. So first identifying what you were and were not doing and why. That's why the why is so important. And I can't stress enough, and I'm the same way, is not rewarding yourself and not having those kinds of days and not ending your day with this, and this if you haven't done what you know you needed to do. You're like, crap, I haven't done those things. And you hammer out some 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 before you watch your Netflix series, or before you go on date night, or before you go do this, or before you lay your head down at night. Okay, because a lot of us know, oh man, that's okay. I'll just do extra tomorrow. Again, another news flash is if you couldn't do half of it today, you can't do double tomorrow. Okay, it's easier just to do the same amount every single day, or just count yesterday as a loss and just keep with the normal amount for the next day. If you didn't do your full 5 yesterday, don't do 8 today. Just do your 5. Just do your 5. Okay? Just do what you know you need to be doing. Don't try to like play this makeup game because you're going to make things so heavy on yourself and burdensome that you're never going to want to do it. So, I love you guys. I know this Zoom felt probably a little harsh, but sometimes some tough love and some tough realization is what we need. I know it was just as much for me as it was for you guys. So I want everyone to kind of write those things down, be honest with themselves, really set themselves up to end February strong and start March strong, and make goals that reinforce what you're good at, challenge you with what you're not good at. Those of you who were on Sunday's Zoom, please finish those self-evaluations. I'm seeing a lot of people finish them and already putting them to good use, because it's really showing them what they fall short on, where their strengths are, what they need to work on, and they're showing up a little differently. If you were not on Sunday's Zoom, please go to the YouTube channel and watch it. If you need the worksheet, we have it. Let us know, because Alicia and I will be going over the first 5 laws, or maybe even the second ones, because we went over the first 5 last week. So maybe even the second ones this week, but we're going to be going over those and using them in our one-to-one Zooms with you guys. So I love you guys. Thanks so much for getting on here, even though you came on and you got like a beating you probably didn't expect. We all went through the ringer together. So I feel you. I love you guys. I know February has been tough. If you are in areas right now where your power has just gone back on and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm thankful just to have like heat and food and a shower. Take your time to fully acclimate back into regular life, get your family safe, fed, clean, warm. And we know that we're all here for you, but we are all in this together. We are going to end February strong. We're going to start showing up differently. I know you guys can expect me to start showing up differently. And I know that we're going to see explosive growth in March. I know it. I know we are. I'm claiming it. I'm putting it out there because you guys are badasses. Sometimes we just need to shake ourselves awake and be like, you're better than this. So that's kind of like what this Zoom was. We are better than what we are doing right now. And I think if we needed a recoup month, perfectly fine. Just know we're going to come back stronger in March. So I love you guys. We'll catch you on the next Zoom. I think the next one is tomorrow. I think Haley's. I don't think we have any in the evening. I think Haley's is tomorrow. So make sure you hop on that one. But catch you guys later. Love you.